good evening there, everybody. Thank you for joining us again this week on the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ. I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
And we want to thank you guys for continuing to stick through this with us. We really appreciate your viewership as JJ or Jay announced on our last episode. We finally hit the 100 subscribers on Facebook.
Yeah, we're up to about 100 and 105 now, 106.
Nice. And on Instagram, we're getting really close. So we really appreciate your support. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, hit the ding the little bell in the corner here so you get notified of all future podcasts. And check us out on audio format on Podbeans, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So how are you guys doing this evening?
Good, man. Just trying to combat the heat. It's hot outside.
Oh man.
So I know you were dealing with an air conditioning unit. Did you get that resolved?
Oh yeah. Luckily, and very, very luckily, it was a very easy fix. The unit has a default protector switch on the inside. It's basically just a little float.
Yeah.
It goes inside of the pipe. So that if the pipe starts to back up and the water in the pipe starts to back up from the condensation, that float goes up and it kicks the AC unit outside off so that it doesn't continue to condensate and make water and doesn't overflow.
Gotcha.
And luckily, the only thing that was wrong with it was the pipe was clogged. And, unfortunately, the pipe is, as old as the AC unit, which is about 10 years old. So he had to wind up cutting out a part of the pipe and putting a new pipe in there because the buildup in it was so much that he couldn't just flush it out. But once he did that, everything started working again, and man, we're off and running. So it's a nice, cool 73 degrees inside the J. Liao household tonight.
Well, I don't know if you guys can hear. I don't know if you can hear my window unit cranked up in here. You might hear that low humming in the background, but normally when we get ready to do this podcast, I turn the air conditioner on beforehand and cut it off once we get started. Of course, with all these
lights, you forgot.
No. It's
just too hot.
Yeah, it's just too hot. I mean, with all the lights that we incorporate now, so that we get the right kind of lighting, it generates all this additional heat. And usually, when we film our regular segments, by the end of the segment, I'm literally sweating, just because it's gotten so hot in here.
I know what you mean.
This time I decided, you know what, the heck with it. I'm just going to leave it running because it's too warm. And usually during the day, when we're working from the home office, we have it cranked up so it stays cool in here. But these last couple of days, we haven't been working from the home office. We've been out in the field, so no one's been here. Air conditioner's been off. So when I first came out here, it was pretty stuffy.
Yeah, it does get pretty stuffy in there. Well,
but
I can tell you one place it doesn't get stuffy.
Where's that?
Out in the wilderness. When you go camping.
Gosh. Yeah.
So how was camping?
I've kind of always enjoyed camping. I've had fun experiences in my short time as a Cub Scout and Boy Scout. I have fond memories, to say the least. And so, I've always kind of enjoyed being, obviously growing up at the ranch for the majority of the first part of my life. Just always kind of enjoyed being out among the elements and among kind of wildlife, if you will. But so we stayed near Comanche, Texas, which is about 45 minutes south of Stephenville. And we stayed on Proctor Lake, and we had a lakefront campground with electric. I slept on the ground, and I took, the girls, my sister, Anna's sister, and of course my girlfriend. And we all stayed out there. They stayed on the mattress. But putting up the tent was quite a challenge then, I remember. Of course, it's been some years since. It's only been probably 3 years since I put up a tent, but it was a lot different than the last time because that wind from the lake was just blowing in pretty hard.
Did you was there any trees or any kind of windbreak at all near your campsite?
The trees were like literally 100 feet to the right of me, so like I'm literally like right against the shore, if you will.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I was determined to get it set up. You know, I think at some point Annabelle and the rest of them were thinking, well, you know, maybe we'll just go get a hotel for the night. And
or we'll sleep in the car.
Yeah. But then, well, it was really Annabelle who was thinking that, and Anna was like, "You must not know your brother. He's too stubborn to do something like that."
Right.
Like, yeah. Well, you know, I didn't drive 3 hours to just go stay at a Holiday Inn, so,
So
we're
did
here.
you guys,
So
did you encounter any wildlife while you were out there? Any kind of wildlife? Raccoons, snakes?
at the campsite, so like literally upon entering the park, and this park is it was built, I think, or maintained by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not a Texas, it's a federal like campsite, but literally upon driving in, there was like a couple deer right there. Other than that, I mean, just animals, a couple fish in the lake. I didn't see fish, but the girls, you know, swore that they did. And then just
You see a fish in the lake.
I'm just telling
Maybe
you
it
what a
Maybe it was a Loch Ness monster.
Well,
could have been that.
when Reggie was talking about his fond memories of camping and going as a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, I was one that took him. And while overall it was a fun experience, we had our fair share of mishaps. You know, the first time we went, it was just me and RJ with this Cub Scout troop. We had a nice little tent. However, I can't remember. We let somebody borrow it, and they broke one of the zippers on the main flap of the tent. You could only zip it up so much, and we oriented our tent facing the lake. So we had all the cool breeze coming in. It was middle of summer. It was hot as all get out. And my wife was saying that maybe you guys ought to take some extra blankets. We only brought one blanket. And I told her, "Are you kidding? It's hot. There's no way. We don't really need them." So of course, that night, I mean, a cool front blew in, and that temperature dropped. I gotta believe 20 degrees. I mean, we were freezing, and you know, because RJ was small, he was sleeping in front of me, and I had him covered up with the blanket. And we didn't even bring a big blanket; it was a small blanket. And so my back we slept with my back towards the tent opening. And so all night long, just that cold air was just blowing in because we couldn't even seal up the door completely. So we couldn't even prevent the wind from blowing in. So man, we froze our tuchuses off that first time.
No, my ass would have been back in the car with the heater on, that sucker all night. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. I enjoy the outdoors. I like going out to the country. I like going back out to the ranch. There's nothing better on a nice night when it's clear. There's no lights from the city. And you can see up in the sky. You can see the stars. You can see the moon.
Right.
You can hear, out at the ranch, you can hear coyotes. You can see everything. It's beautiful. Right. But I'm just not an outdoor person. I've never been camping. I've never put up a tent. I've never slept on the ground. I've never, because I would have been I would have been at it, but I'd have been like, RJ, let's hit it, brother. Well, there's a hotel right up the road. We'll go stay there tonight, and then we can come back in the morning and fish. Now, my wife and I do enjoy some time in the mountains. We make a trip to Colorado every year. I think this year will probably be the first year that we don't make it out to Colorado since we've been together. And that's just because of, everything that's going on, COVID and all that good stuff. Right. And we always stay in the same cabins. So we stay in these cabins up in the mountains in Colorado, and that's about as close to camping as I actually get. We build a fire. It's pretty secluded. I think a couple of times that we've been up there, we've seen bears. And there's been times the lady will tell us when we check in, she's like, "Hey, I just want you guys to know that it's bear season, so y'all need to be careful if a bear makes its way out here." And I remember for the first couple of years that we did it, I was like, "Yeah, right, whatever, bears, get out of here." And then, sorry, I had something on my screen there. And so we went out one night, and on the way back in, they have these big dumpsters out in between our cabins. There's 2 or 3 cabins in the same area. Mm-hmm. And there's a dumpster kind of in the middle of all these. Well, I remember one morning I went out to go throw the trash. And I'm like, God dang it. Why is this dumpster so hard to open? Like the lid of the dumpster weighed 50 pounds, and usually when you see a dumpster, the lid is made out of plastic, just throw it open, throw the trash in. So I was struggling to get this dumpster open to throw the trash out. I was like, man, why is this dumpster the lid on this thing so heavy?
So the bears can't open it.
I figured that out because we came back one night we went into town to go get something to eat. We drove back up to the cabin, and as we were driving up, sure enough, there was a bear. It was a juvenile bear, but there was a bear standing at the dumpster trying to get the lid open. And, I remember we're pulling up, and I'm looking, I'm going, what the heck is that? And my wife is like, oh my God, that's a bear. I'm like, no, that ain't no bear. And as we're pulling up, I shine the bright lights in the car on it, and sure enough, there's a bear standing there by the dumpster trying to get into the dumpster. And it stood there for about 5 minutes and just kind of looked at us, thinking we were going to go away. We were bothering him.
Mm-hmm. But actually, he was waiting for you to get out of your vehicle so he could have a quick dinner.
He was trying to see which one of us was going to run faster. You know what they say in those kind of situations? You don't have to run the fastest. You just have to run faster than the slowest person.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But yeah, that's about as close to camping as I get, man. Going in, bringing in firewood from outside that's already chopped.
Yeah. Do you remember when we were kids, Jay? We used to have that big Suburban, the big brown Suburban.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
First moved out to the ranch, and there were some times that we spent the night we slept out. Our version of camping, because Dad didn't buy us a tent. We didn't have a tent. So
we did Mexican camping.
Huh?
We did Mexican camping.
Yeah, that's right.
Back of the Suburban.
We opened the back of the because the old Suburban had the window that popped up like that, and the tailgate that opened like that. And we just opened that up, and we all slept in the back of the Suburban. We made beds back there, and you could lay down all the bucket seats. No, actually, I think we had to take them out, if I remember correctly.
There were no blow-up mattresses back in the day, RJ.
Nope.
Pillows and blankets, brother. Pillows and blankets.
And, hey, I have no problem sleeping on the floor.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, we went one time with Philip too when he got back from the Army. We went out camping, but that same trip, tornado blew in, and so in the middle of the trip, in the middle of the night, we had to bail on the tent. We had to go run down into the ditch that was right, a couple hundred. Not a couple hundred yards, but a few yards away. There was a deep ditch that a lot of people were going in and hiding in, and we went there, and just kind of rode out the wind. I mean, it got real windy, a lot of rain, but eventually the tornado passed, and then we made it back into our tent. We were soaking wet, but the rest of the night was peaceful calm. Peaceful calm.
Surprisingly, though, I was like one out of 2 people that I saw that took a tent. Everybody else had like a camper or an RV. You know, to me, like, they definitely have their benefits, but I don't know. I think, you know, you're getting out. The whole purpose is to get out and kind of be in the wild, be, you know, a little in the wild, if you will, kind of experience the elements. And look, camping's not for everybody. And, you know, I don't know if you can ever truly prepare for camping as a whole. Because I think even when you do, you can be, you know, kind of thrown a curveball with the weather. You know, but if you don't go camping a lot as well, you know, you're going to forget some things, which, you know, we forgot a couple things.
I think that tent camping is kind of meant for a little bit more remote campsite, you know, because you can't get shelter in some remote areas. You know, campers too are, I mean, that's just it's a fun way to go. You're outside, but you're not outside. You have some creature comforts. You know, it's easier to cook. You know, I think you were telling me, RJ, that because of the high winds, they had a burn ban on, so you couldn't really start a campfire. In a camper, you know, you got a little kitchen. You normally have a kitchenette or something, so you guys could have cooked inside. It wouldn't have been as fun, but still. And
makes you wonder about you know, it makes you wonder about the way it's depicted in the movies. I mean, when you see an old Western where you see these guys just kind of, you know, stop in the middle of wherever they're, you know, going to, if they're on their way to Santa Fe or whatever, and build a little campfire out there and sleep out, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. How true to form was that? I mean, did they actually do that? Because, man, I can't imagine.
I bet they did, but you got to remember, they slept with guns and they slept with knives, and they were also doing a lot of that in a time when America was much less populated. And so, yeah, I mean, you had space. Animals probably were just as concerned about the people as the people were about the animals.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about the elements. I mean, having to sleep out, you know, like you talked about, you went out in the middle of summer, in the middle of the hot, and a cold front rolls in, and you're in a tent, you know, having to sleep through elements like that. And I can't imagine those guys were out there with no protection, no tent, no anything, just a sleeping bag or a sleep roll or whatever.
Yeah, but you know, bro, what I've recognized is different lifestyles and different generations had different skill sets, right? So I'm sure a lot of those guys were able to understand the weather. They probably knew, hey, the storm's coming. So, you know, they probably found shelter. They probably found ways to either, you know, find some rocks or trees, dense trees, and maybe even built a little, you know, very, very basic shelter if they had to. But I do believe that some of them just, you know, I mean, you if you were able to, you bought a sleeping bag. You got wet, right? You got hot, you got hot. You got cold, you got cold. I mean, what else were you going to do? Because there wasn't a camper to go to. There wasn't a hotel to go to.
Yeah.
You know, and
you and your horse.
Well, exactly. And so if you're, and what can your horse do? Can your horse outrun a storm? Absolutely not. So, I mean, at some point you had to accept reality. You made do. You found, I'm assuming, I mean, that's the thing. We're coming from an entirely different perspective because we're in a different time. And, you know, we probably don't understand all the fundamentals that those guys, all the skill set that those guys truly had. But I mean, they didn't have lighters. I mean, they had matches, but they didn't. You know, some of them didn't have lighters, so they truly had to start fires. You know, with flint rocks and you know, with you know, rubbing sticks or whatever. You know, so I mean, I guess in a lot of ways, those guys were tougher than what we are today. But by the same token, they didn't have the life expectancy that we had.
Oh God, no.
I mean, because a lot of them got sick from being exposed to the elements, right? Or getting eaten.
Well,
or the
there was a time the life expectancy was like 36 years.
Right.
You know, and you're like, damn, dude, that you think about that. I think the median life expectancy now is 65, 66 years.
For man, right?
Yeah, for a male. Yeah, 72, I think, for a woman. But
may even be higher than that now. I think it might be like 72 and 78.
Well, I mean, still, you think about a time when you know, we would have already been dead. You know,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I guess you kind of get this romanticized vision of what camping is by the movies. You see these people build, you know, tents out in the middle of by this big lake and you know, have the campfire going and a little coffee pot and all that stuff. And you think that's how it's really going to be like. What they don't tell you about is all the bugs and the mosquitoes and the, you know,
the ants.
Yeah, and the
crickets
snakes that are sneaking up on you, and you know, all that other stuff.
You know what I find though is for the most part, snakes will stay away from you. You know, I mean, not all the time, but snakes will stay away from you because they don't know who you, or what you are, and you know, I mean, some of them obviously are very territorial, and you know, if you come into their playground, you're basically, you need to watch out for them. But you know, my experience has been with snakes that snakes are just as intimidated by us as we are of them. So, right. You know, the few times that I've come across them in certain capacities, they're just as happy to get out of there as you are.
Yeah.
You know, very rarely do snakes like just come at you. You know, most of the time they're not looking to attack you. They're just hunting for prey. And if, you know, you go out there and you make a lot of noise and a lot of them will just slither off. They're going to go find high grass or get back into the woods or just get out of there. But anyway,
well, it's definitely a subject to explore for me. I mean, there's going to come a day, I think, where I might have to do some camping just to say I've done it to get the experience of it. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Hey, you can come camp in my backyard and you can pretend like the swimming pool is the lake, right?
Oh,
and I'll put my speaker out there and we'll play jungle. What do you call animal jungle noise music sound effects?
And we'll dress Wishbone up.
Oh my god!
Is he going to be? Well, Sadie can be the bear and Wishbone can be the deer.
No, Wishbone will be the mountain lion.
No.
Wishbone's an animal. Okay. You don't ever downplay Wishbone like that, man.
He's more like a rat, you know.
No. Wishbone's got the heart of a lion.
A really giant rat.
He's got the heart of a lion, bro.
He's got the heart of a piece of pizza because if I throw a pepperoni out there,
look, I swear this is an honest story. RG never doesn't believe me, but it's an honest story.
It's not true.
So in the morning, I take Wishbone out. Before we got Sadie, Wishbone was by himself for a little while, so I would take him out in the backyard in the morning so he could do his business. And one morning, we had gotten reports that there were bobcats in the neighborhood, right? And so there was this. I tell RJ it was a bobcat. He says it was a kitty cat, but he wasn't there. He refuses to believe that Wishbone. As soon as he saw that bobcat, Wishbone took off after it, and that bobcat turned tail, jumped over the fence, and took off. He didn't want no part of Wishbone. Wishbone's not afraid. He's not intimidated.
Man, I'll tell you.
Wishbone's a natural born killer.
I got two things to say, and then we can move on to the next topic.
Okay.
It's so convenient that no one else saw this encounter.
Man, because
Literally.
y'all don't take him out to the restroom. I'm the one that did it. I'm the one that takes him out. I just happen to be the witness.
Man, if there was truth to that, there would have been like a second time or something where, you know. Anyways,
Gets no respect.
and on top of his instinct, I can tell you on Father's Day this year, when Alex was setting off those little hand poppers, every time one went off.
First of all, don't make it sound like
man.
don't make it sound like the little poppers. It was the little guns that make a loud pop.
All I know is when there was smoke, when there was action to be taken care of, Wishbone was nowhere to be found.
Man.
So
that was
Wishbone Wishbone kind of sounds like a version of Batman.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all like that segue? That was good, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So, I I wanted to talk about this just because, By
the way, Batman Wishbone does have a Batman cape, just so you know.
Are you his?
I'm Alfred. I'm Alfred.
His Alfred.
Mm-hmm.
Sadie's his Robin.
Sadie's his Catwoman.
Oh my god!
Or is Sadie his Joker? Because they're kind of mortal enemies.
They're not necessarily mortal enemies.
No, they're not enemies. Wishbone is.
They go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean,
but she's
more like Catwoman. You know, they have a love-hate relationship.
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about this just because I kind of got into a debate with a friend of mine, and it got me to thinking about Batman and the different people who played Batman, the different the actors, the styles, and I kind of wanted for us to kind of power rank the Batmans, just because I have my own vision of Batman, and I know that you guys too, and I've seen I've told you guys this in conversations before and kind of in confidential moments, because I don't like to throw it out there. It's every time I say it, people look at me like I'm crazy, but I've never seen any of the Dark Knight movies. I've never seen the Dark Knight, Batman Begins. I don't know what the next Batman cycle. I don't know what the next Dark Knight movie is. But I've never seen any of them. And I have this vision of what Batman is. And my vision was always is defined by the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman. That is my all-time favorite Batman. It came out at a time when, comic book movies were not as prevalent as they are now. I think it's one of the first to kind of reboot the genre. I know growing up, Roll, you and I had the Adam West version of Batman, the Batman, right. TV show.
We did.
And
yes, we did.
along with probably the most cheesy Batman movie of all time. The hour and 10 minute long Batman movie where he fights the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin.
Yeah, where all the criminals,
King Tut, all
fight
of them at the same time
against him. Yeah.
Yeah. And, Batman and Robin saved the day again, I think, with shark repellent, where the bat shark repellent.
Right.
Everything was bat. The bat shark repellent, the batarang, the bat,
I think that's the first time we got to see the bat helicopter and the bat boat too.
Yeah, the bat boat. And so, RJ, there was always this running gag in the Batman TV show where they would be climbing up the side of a building, right? Mm-hmm. So it's Batman and Robin. It shows them, the buildings like this, and they're kind of just climbing up the side, and people would stick their head out the window and talk to them as they're going up. So,
and it was the flimsiest of ropes. I mean, it was almost, it was not much thicker than yarn. and there would be two of them walking right behind each other, right? And every time somebody stuck their head out the window, they were always like sideways, because the way they did that was they were actually just walking on a flat surface. They were wires sticking out the back of their cape, so they would look like they were hanging down.
Yeah. If you've never seen any of the old Batman TV shows, RJ, I encourage you to just watch a couple of them, man. You don't got to watch the whole series run, but watch a couple of them. You know, the Riddler, was always probably one of my favorite characters in the Batman TV show, just because I used to like the actor that played him. And there's actually, I think during the run of the show, two different actors that played the Riddler.
Yeah.
There were two or three different actors that played Catwoman. It was Julie Newmar. It was
Eartha Kitt.
And I think there was one more. But, man, for my money, there is no better Catwoman than Julie Newmar, man. She was it. Love me some Julie Newmar.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And, of course, Cesar Romero as Joker.
Oh, yeah. And you know what?
Awesome.
Although I love his version of the Joker,
yes,
my all-time favorite Joker is always going to be Jack Nicholson, just because the way he portrayed him in the 1989 Batman movie with Michael Keaton was just so iconic, so crazy. The scene where they're dancing through the museum through Prince music, tearing up the art. Some classic lines from there. Never rub another man's rhubarb. This town needs an enema.
Yeah.
So
the
line where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yeah. So let me ask you then, bro, because I mean you're definitely describing what is your favorite, and your list might be partially disqualified simply because I don't think you can really rank them without having seen the Christian Bale Batmans. But let's rank them. So obviously you're saying your number one
is number one.
Keaton. Okay. Keaton.
Number two, Adam West.
Okay.
Because of the nostalgia of growing up with that Batman.
Sure.
Number three, Lego Batman. Just because
Will
Arnett is such greatness playing Lego Batman.
Right.
He's funny. Just his whole persona. I'm Batman. It kills me every single time.
Right.
And this is where it starts to get controversial. Is that I kind of going off the edge here, have always been a big fan of the Ben Affleck version of the Batman.
Okay.
In Justice League and in Batman versus Superman, I like Affleck's version of Batman.
I did too. I think I did.
I've seen enough clips and enough memes of Bale's version of Batman that I think I get it without actually watching the movies, but I don't know, man. There is nothing about Batman Begins or The Dark Knight that draws me to that to say I have to watch that movie. And to me, if a movie can't catch me enough to make me say I want to watch that movie or I have to watch that movie, then I don't know. It's just
I think you're probably letting your bias towards the Michael Keaton character really cloud your judgment. I think you're doing a disservice by not watching the Christian Bale movies because number one, hold on.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
But here's the deal.
You're not a Christian Bale fan. I get that. So
no, I'm not.
But let's just say it's kind of like when we had our discussion about Star Wars. I think you really need to you need to watch them. You need to really evaluate them based on you sitting down and watching the entire movie. You ought to start with Batman Begins. Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
Start with Batman Begins and see if you can make it through. And then go from there.
I can do that. But here's my thing and I know that my view is kind of biased by the Michael Keaton, but I've given other Batmans an opportunity. I've watched the Batman cartoons. The one where Mark Hamill plays the Joker. I've seen, Lego Batman is definitely way after Keaton, and I love that one. And like even Affleck, when Batman versus Superman came out, I was like, man, I have to watch that. That one drew me to it. I was like, man, I have to watch that, version of Batman. But there's just something about Batman Begins or The Dark Knight that I just never it never appealed to me, and I don't understand why.
Mm-hmm. So what about Clooney? And what about Clooney and
oh man, get out of here, Clooney!
Kilmer
Clooney's version of Batman.
And Val Kilmer, yeah.
Clooney and Kilmer.
Yeah, Val Kilmer.
Carajo.
Man.
Not even worth my time to even talk about those jokers.
So do you want to go next then?
That was
No,
it.
actually,
The
RJ,
circus
I
of
want
Batman.
you to go next because I'd like to hear from the young persons because you really don't have you may not have a strong affinity for the older Batmans because you were just a puppy when the first ones came out, and you probably don't even really have a clue what we're talking about the old fashioned Batmans. So you go ahead. Let me hear what you got.
Okay. So I've probably got I've got a top 7. I've got Christian Bale number 1. I've got Christian Bale number 1. Obviously those were during my closest to my adult lifetime. My more teenage years, I guess technically. But Dark Knight is really my most favorite movie. I think Christian Bale, as I know he gets a lot of hype around his acting, but I think he played a really good Batman. I think he brought a sense of kind of relatableness to Batman because I think with a lot of the other Batmans, like we discussed earlier, you kind of get this sense that they're, the perfect human, if you will, or, just kind of a stand-up guy. And I think that you see Christian Bale kind of portray a Batman who I think can be a bit more realistic. He still kind of struggles with his sense of righteousness, but, he does have a dark side to him and, he has human emotions. Obviously I think The Dark Knight's the best one just because, Heath Ledger is my favorite Joker of all time. Mm-hmm. Jack Nicholson is, I would agree he's top 2. So I can't fault Uncle JJ for, his view on that movie. But I'm sure this will surprise you guys.
So after Christian Bale, how's the rest?
I have Michael Keaton. I have Michael Keaton as number 2 because I do remember that movie, and I love that one. And then I had 3 as George Clooney. Dude, that was a good movie.
I can't get over the whole nipples in the suit, dude. That's too much.
Okay, that's a fair point. And then so I had Val Kilmer as 4, Ben Affleck as 5.
Wow.
And then I have Lego Batman. And then just even though I haven't seen much, I do know the legends and, I've seen some of the clips of Adam West. So I have him as 7.
Interesting.
That's fair. I mean, you've never experienced Adam West, but man, the fact that you have Lego Batman so far down the list, that discredits you as a comic book fan, man.
Hold on, dude. Come on. First of all, look, I mean, I try to stick to movies, first of all, because I could say some of the
Lego Batman movie is in the title.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I don't know. That one kind of has to fall further down because, dude, let's be honest. It's a cartoon and it's a humor movie. I mean, as great as Will Arnett is, Batman wasn't a damn comedian, dude. He was trying to save people.
So, all right. So let me now interject my list.
Okay.
And I have the benefit of seeing every Batman movie. As you've mentioned before, Jay, I'm a huge Batman.
You are.
I don't like going to the movie theater very often, especially on opening night. I mean, I do like going to the movie theater, but I don't like going on opening nights of any movies simply because I know it's going to be crowded. I know it's just, I always like to go after the crowds kind of disperse a little bit. So I might go 3rd or 4th weekend. Batman is the only set of movies that I will go watch on opening night. I will buy tickets. I don't care if I got to find 2 or 3 movie theaters to go find the seats I want, but I will do that. I will drive to those movie theaters because Batman is, for me, iconically the greatest of the superheroes. I'm also a huge Superman fan. So I prefer Batman slightly more than Superman simply because Batman to me is human. He's superhuman, but still human. Whereas Superman has, you know, powers and abilities that, you know, he's he's an alien first of all, and so it's really not a fair comparison. That being said, I benefit from being old enough to have lived and breathed the Adam West Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman, and then of course the follow-ups with Clooney, Kilmer.
Affleck.
I've seen them all. I've seen every Batman, even the cheesy Batman movie special that you referred to, Jay. And so, as I rank them, I would agree. Michael Keaton is still going to be my favorite. And I think that
I feel like he's the gold standard.
I think so too. I think that, you know, subsequent Batmans kind of benefited from special effects. And now, even though I know Michael Keaton had a bodysuit, subsequent bodysuits were just like, I mean, here's Keaton's bodysuit and here's everybody else. I mean, just phenomenal bodysuits. I kind of look at it in terms of how I felt he was able to play both roles as Bruce Wayne and of course as Batman. He was edgy enough as Batman. He was a kind of middle of the road Bruce Wayne, a little bit dull, but still middle of the road, kind of captures what we envisioned as Bruce Wayne growing up. To me, second place is going to be Christian Bale. Christian Bale brought a whole new different perspective to me. He presented Bruce Wayne as kind of the bratty, spoiled billionaire, but he had to because he was trying to create a different facade versus what his Batman was, who was very edgy, who was very maybe cynical, who was very more brutish than what we were used to seeing. And that's kind of indicative of that whole Dark Knight arc line, you know, if you're a huge comic book fan. So I really liked Christian Bale and his performance. I think you really need to check him out because I think you'll move him up your list if you did that. I think third for me is probably going to be Adam West, and that's more because of my affinity for the show, for having grown up on that, you know, being spoon-fed. It's very cheesy. There's no doubt about it. The special effects were cheesy. The storylines, to some degree, were very cheesy. But again, there was just something so likable about the way Adam West played the character. Number 4 is I'm going to go with Ben Affleck because I did like while it was maybe highly unpopular, Batman versus Superman, I really liked that movie. Both characters, to me, both actors did a great job. I think fourth, or am I fourth or fifth now? I lost count.
No, you're at 4.
Lego Batman, because I agree. Will Arnett has a whole lot of fun with that. It's kind of the over-the-top super ego Batman. You know, it's comical, it's funny. You know, Batman has all these gadgets, and you know he's always got this. I think he's got like an inferiority complex in that he's always got to prove up his own ego, and he's always talking and bragging about who he is and what he's got. It's very funny, very funny. And then I would have to agree that I think the Val Kilmer and to me, they both kind of tie for the bottom of the list. I really didn't, you know, I saw him just because I'm a Batman fan. It was cool to see some of the other characters. I mean, I think Jim Carrey played a pretty good Riddler.
Mr. Freeze.
You know, Mr. Freeze with Arnold was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. What planet are you on?
No, man. I mean, seriously.
Worst performance. Oh my God.
No. It was,
okay, keep going. No, keep going.
And of course, you know, I think the movies are certainly enhanced by the counterparts that they were played in those movies. So when you guys talk about the Jokers, I mean, you look at my number 1 and 2. Obviously, also the best, arguably the 2 best Jokers of the series.
I will give you that.
With with Jack and with Heath Ledger. But I would also make a strong case for Cesar Romero.
He was awesome.
He was a great Joker. I loved his laugh. He was, he was a little eccentric. He was a little goofy. But I really loved it. And to be honest with you, I loved his voice. I loved Cesar Romero's voice. If you ever go watch some of his other work as an actor, he's got a real good, just presence. And so that's kind of how I ranked them. Like it or don't like it, that's how I feel. I know that there's some new arc lines coming in. I'm kind of curious to see how Pattinson plays Batman they're kind of taking that arc line.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about that one. I'm iffy about it. I just don't. He's a pretty boy, man, and I just don't see him.
Well, I think that's what happened with Clooney. I think Clooney was, they probably brought him in because of his star power, and they thought that by bringing in, a handsome guy, that maybe they were going to get more women to like the character or something. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's where they lost a lot of the hardcore Batman fans.
All I know is the Ben Affleck version of Batman has the greatest line of all the Batmans, and that's the scene in Justice League where he's trying to recruit the Flash to come join their fight against I can't even remember the bad guy's name, but and he's talking to the Flash.
Go ahead.
You know the scene I'm talking about where they get into his car and he's got the badass Mercedes with the doors that pop open like that. And the Flash asks him, "So what do you do?" He says, "I'm rich." That's the greatest Batman line ever, dude. I know I'll say that I'm Batman is the second best Batman.
My favorite one is in Justice League when at the very end of the movie, they're starting to repair Martha. They're moving back into Martha Kent's house, and so Clark Kent asked Bruce Wayne, how did you get my mom's house back? And he said, well, first thing I did was I called them, and then I bought the bank.
Yeah. And that just goes to show you, man, the greatness of that line when he tells him, "What's your superpower?" "I'm rich." Yeah. And when it comes to Clark, it's like, "You're right, man. Hey, I bought the bank." What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why you would have to buy the bank just to get her house back. If he wanted to get the house from the bank,
it wasn't. He didn't have to. It was just a power move, dude.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly.
Hey, but that's
just an ego stroke.
That's a great.
But I think the other thing too I liked about Affleck's presentation in that is that you see Batman is aging. That he's coming to the realization that he can't do it forever, that he's not young. And which is why I'm curious to also see, supposedly Michael Keaton is in talks to revive his role as Batman. I don't know how much of the cartoon stuff you follow, Jay. I'm not a huge fan of the cartoon version.
I've seen some of them. I've seen a lot of them, but I'm not a hardcore follower of them.
Right. Have you seen the Batman Beyond cartoon series? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. So that basically follows Bruce Wayne when he comes to the stark realization he can't be the Batman anymore.
Yeah.
He's getting real. Yeah, I mean, he's come to the realization he's an old man. He's not physically capable anymore, and I think that's what they're going to try and do with the Michael Keaton reviving his role as Batman. Is now that the Batman is quote unquote an old man, what does his role become?
The mental, yeah,
right. What does his role become? How does he continue to serve his purpose when he can't physically get out there and go toe to toe with these guys the way he used to?
And I think that's part of where it starts to scope into the comic books, where you start to see versions of comic books and even certain cartoons where he's starting to pass the mantle on to, to Robin and to other, people. Because you're right. I think the thing that makes Batman so great is that he's not superhuman. He's not Superman, an alien from another, planet. He's not, like Wonder Woman or the Flash or, Aquaman, these metahumans that are more than a human being. He's just a guy.
Right.
He's admittedly a guy with a lot of money.
More than just a guy. But what you're saying though is he's very, very normal when compared to all these other superheroes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He's just a guy, admittedly, with a lot of brains, a lot of money, right, and a lot of drive, and a lot of passion to do what he does. Because, you would think that after getting your butt kicked several, 100 times, you'd be willing to wrap it up anyway and say, you know what, I'm done with this. But his passion is so great that he just continues on until he can't do it anymore. And I think that's what makes Batman so great as a character, is that eventually you see that evolution of, where he gets to the point that he knows that he can't do this, forever.
Which is why I think you need to watch. I think you need to watch the Christian Bale ones, Jay, because in the third, so it's Batman Begins.
It's Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, and The Dark Knight Rises. You need to see The Dark Knight Rises because in there, Robin is identified, but not in the capacity you think he is. But there's also the preponderance of what happens when Batman walks away. So I think you'd find that one. Again, I think you should at least try all three. Give it one view. You may say, you know what, Roland, it was a waste of my time. I really didn't like it. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I think that I'm going to boycott all future Batman movies until they bring in King Tut.
Oh my God!
Oh my gosh!
That was one of the wackiest characters that they ever had in the.
Why? Hold on. Why would Batman be fighting King Tut?
Well, he wasn't really fighting King Tut. So King Tut was essentially a professor that goes crazy, and he thinks he's King Tut, right?
Oh, okay.
He takes on the King Tut persona. So it's not the real King Tut. It's a knuckle.
He's like an archaeologist who goes crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it would be interesting if they kind of brought the Batman Beyond to like a movie type series. Because I did enjoy a lot of the Batman cartoons as a kid, but it also was kind of a interesting, I guess, complex or alternate scenario where you kind of see Batman getting older and you really see the emergence of the guy who was originally Robin, Dick. What's his name?
Grayson.
Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Dick Grayson, and how he, kind of later on emerges as Nightwing. So I think that'd be interesting if they could kind of, add that to the series instead of, adding on, okay, now we're going to bring Robert Pattinson to play a young Batman again.
Well, I think they have to continue to find ways.
Oh yeah, of course.
To freshen Batman up, because I mean it's a different generation. See, it didn't surprise me, RJ, that Christian Bale was your number one, and Mike, while you were, Michael Keaton was still, like, you've seen the movie and you've seen his character. You weren't at a point in your life yet where Batman was this, bigger than life character. So like for me and Jay. That big screen presentation of Batman was just awesome. Yeah. And so that's why I think we have that bias towards Keaton. But we also have a very high affinity for the television Adam West, right? Because we grew up watching that TV series. We grew up, I couldn't wait week to week. In fact, I didn't bring my phone out here with me, but one of my ringtones is the Batman theme song from the television. So, it plays the old Batman. So, So I'm a huge Batman homer. I think it was fun talking about Batman, but as I look at the clock, boys, we're hitting that hour. So, Jay,
great discussion tonight, and there's going to be times where we're going to have to power rank some other superheroes, because there are several versions of several superheroes. And even we might even power rank just who's the greatest superhero, DC or Marvel. But that's a real big debate, buddy. That might be one where we have to be glad where we're separated into different rooms, because I think if we were in the same room, we might actually punch each other for that one. But hey, guys, thanks for sticking with us tonight. We're keeping it. We decided to keep it light this week. I know there's still a lot of stuff going on in the world, but every now and then it's nice to take a break from everything, just to have a discussion about who the greatest Batman. Michael Keaton. So thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for really, sticking with us. Thanks for getting us over the hump on our Facebook page. We're still driving on our Instagram page. Keep it up. Keep listening to us on the Podbean, on the Apple Podcasts, on the Spotify. Give our YouTube page some love. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button at the bottom and click that little bell so you'll get a notification every time our new content comes out, which I strive to get out usually by every Sunday morning. Thanks for everything that you do, guys. And just remember to we thank Jesse P, because we couldn't do this without you.
Amen.
All right. Night, boys.
All right.
That's all, folks.